The elevator on the 9th floor. Subscribe. Korea's darkness has no end. She had lived in the building for 6 years. 9th floor. Same elevator every day. She knew every sound it made, every shudder, every delay. She never thought about it. Until the night it stopped on the 3rd floor, and the doors did not open. She waited. The doors stayed closed. She pressed the open button. Nothing. She pressed 9. The elevator moved. She told herself it was a malfunction. Old buildings did this. She had seen it before. It happened again the next night. 3rd floor, doors closed. The elevator simply stopped, held for 11 seconds, then continued up. She counted. 11 seconds exactly. She pressed her back against the wall and watched the doors and did not move until the 9th floor. That night she checked the building registry. Nobody had lived on the 3rd floor for 4 months. The unit was listed as vacant. She asked the building manager about the 3rd floor. He looked at her for a moment before answering. A man had lived there, he said, alone. He was found in the elevator in March, just sitting on the floor. The doors had been opening and closing all night on the 3rd floor. Nobody knew how long he had been there. The official report said cardiac arrest. She asked what floor he had been trying to reach. The manager paused. 9, he said. Same as yours. She started taking the stairs. 8 flights up every night, bag over her shoulder, keys in hand. She did not look at the elevator as she passed it. She did not listen for the sound of the doors. On the 4th night, she came home late and her knees ached and the stairwell light on the 6th floor was out. And she told herself, just this once. She pressed the button. The doors opened immediately. The elevator was empty. She got in. It stopped on the 3rd floor. 11 seconds. She stared at the doors and counted and did not breathe. The doors stayed closed. Then she heard it. From the other side of the doors, someone pressing the call button. One press. Then again. A rhythm. Patient. Steady. As if whoever was pressing it had been pressing it for a very long time and had learned not to expect an answer. She called her sister that night and described everything. Her sister told her she was exhausted, told her to sleep, told her old buildings made strange sounds and malfunctions happened and the 3rd floor was empty and there was nothing to be afraid of. Her sister said she would come by on Saturday. She said she would bring food. She said everything was fine. She said good night. The call ended at 11:47 p.m. At 11:52 p.m., the elevator in the building stopped on the 9th floor. The doors opened. Nobody came in. The doors closed. The elevator went down to the 3rd floor and did not come back up. She checked the elevator log the next morning. The building had a digital record of every stop. She scrolled back 4 months. Every single night, between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., the elevator stopped on the 3rd floor. Every night since March, since the man had been found on the floor of the elevator trying to reach the 9th floor. She scrolled back further. 6 years. The log went back 6 years. She scrolled to the very first entry. The elevator had been stopping on the 3rd floor at night since the day she moved in. She had never noticed. She had never been awake to notice. She put down the phone and looked at her front door and thought about the man who had been found on the elevator floor and where he had been going and whose floor he had been trying to reach and whether she had ever passed him in the hall. The house at the end of the road. Subscribe. Korea's darkness has no end. Everyone in the village knew not to go near the house at the end of the unpaved road. It had been empty for 30 years. The family who lived there had disappeared overnight. No bodies, no note, just empty rooms and a meal left on the table that nobody had touched. She drove past it on her way to her grandmother's. She had done it 100 times as a child and never once looked at it directly. Now she was 26 and it was raining and her phone had no signal and her car had stopped 2 kilometers from the house and she had no choice. The front door was unlocked. She pushed it open and stood in the doorway and listened. Rain on the roof, Wind through a broken window somewhere at the back. Nothing else. She stepped inside and called out. Her voice came back to her wrong, slightly too loud, as if the house were smaller on the inside than it appeared. She found a room with a dry floor and sat down with her back to the wall and waited for the rain to stop and did not touch anything. She heard it after an hour. Footsteps on the floor above her, slow and even, moving from one end of the room to the other, then stopping, then starting again. Back and forth, back and forth. She looked at the ceiling and tracked them. Whoever was up there was walking the same path over and over. She did not move. She did not call out. She pressed herself against the wall and counted the footsteps, and they never changed. 18 steps one way. Pause. 18 steps back. Every time. She found the stairs in the dark. She told herself she needed to see. She told herself it was an animal. A dog, maybe. Something that had found shelter the same way she had. She climbed slowly, and the stairs did not creak. And she reached the top and turned the corner, and the hallway was empty. The footsteps had stopped the moment she put her foot on the first step. The floor at the far end of the hallway was wet, footprint-shaped, leading from the wall to the center of the room and back, over and over, the same path, worn into the floor, as if something had been walking it for a very long time. She went back downstairs and sat by the door and did not sleep. At 3 a.m., the footsteps started again. 18 steps. Pause. 18 steps back. She counted with her eyes open in the dark. At 3:17 a.m., they stopped. The house went completely silent. No rain, no wind, nothing. Then very close, just beside her ear, a voice, barely a whisper, the same two words over and over. Are you staying? Are you staying? Are you staying? She ran. She hit the door with both hands and it opened, and she was outside in the rain and running down the unpaved road toward the main road, not looking back, not stopping. Her car was where she had left it. She got in and turned the key and it started. She drove until she hit the main road and kept driving until she reached the city. She did not stop until she was inside her apartment with every light on and the door locked. She sat on the floor until morning. She did not sleep. She called her grandmother the next day and described what had happened. Her grandmother went quiet for a long time. Then she said, "How many steps?" She said 18. Her grandmother said nothing for a moment. Then that family disappeared 30 years ago. There were 4 of them. The grandmother, the parents, the child. They searched for months. They never found anything. She asked why 18 steps mattered. Her grandmother said the child's bedroom was at the end of that hall, 18 steps from the top of the stairs. She never went back. But 2 months later, she got a call from a number she didn't recognize. She answered. There was no voice, just sound, footsteps, slow and even. 18 steps one way, a pause. 18 steps back. She hung up and blocked the number. The next morning, she found wet footprints on her apartment floor, leading from the front door to the foot of her bed and back. 18 steps each way. She counted them twice. The front door was still locked. The chain was still on. Whatever had been walking that hall for 30 years had learned her address. It was still counting.